The sun beat down on the valley of Elah. Two armies faced each other, ready for battle. On one side stood the Israelites, God's chosen people. They were led by King Saul. On the other side stood the Philistines, a powerful enemy. The Philistines had a secret weapon, a giant named Goliath. Goliath was a terrifying sight. He stood over 9 feet tall. His armor gleamed in the sun, and he carried a massive spear. The Israelites trembled in fear. They felt small and helpless against this giant warrior. How could they possibly defeat such a fearsome enemy? Fear spread through the Israelite camp. The soldiers whispered amongst themselves, their voices filled with worry. They had never faced an enemy so large and so powerful. Goliath strode forward, his voice booming across the valley. He challenged the Israelites. "Choose a man to fight me," he roared. "If he defeats me, we will be your slaves. But if I win, you will be our slaves." Day after day, Goliath repeated his challenge. The Israelites remained paralyzed with fear. King Saul, their tallest and strongest warrior, was too afraid to face the giant. Goliath mocked the Israelites and their God. His words stung their hearts, filling them with shame and despair. Where was their God now? Why did he not protect them? The soldiers felt trapped. Their courage had abandoned them. The giant's laughter echoed across the valley, a constant reminder of their fear. Far away in Bethlehem, a young shepherd named David tended his father's sheep. David was a brave and faithful young man. He had learned to trust God while protecting his flock from lions and bears. David's father, Jesse, sent him to the Israelite camp to bring food to his brothers, who were soldiers in Saul's army. When David arrived, he was shocked to hear Goliath's challenge and to see the fear in the eyes of the Israelite soldiers. David couldn't understand their fear. How could they stand there and let this giant defy the living God? He knew that God was stronger than any giant. David had faced danger before in the fields. He knew that courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the trust that God would be with him. David spoke to his brother, his voice filled with concern. "How can you stand here and do nothing?" he asked. "I will go and fight this Philistine giant." David's brother laughed. "You are just a boy," he scoffed. "Go back to your sheep." But David refused to be silenced. He went to King Saul and boldly declared, "I will fight Goliath." Saul looked at David, a mere shepherd boy, and shook his head. "You are no match for this Philistine," he said. "He has been a warrior all his life." "But your majesty," David insisted, "the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." Preparation for battle. Trust and a sling. Impressed by David's faith, Saul reluctantly agreed to let him fight Goliath. He offered David his own armor, a heavy coat of mail and a bronze helmet. David tried on the armor but quickly realized it was too heavy and cumbersome. He was a shepherd, not a soldier. He needed to fight in a way that felt natural, in a way that allowed him to rely on God's strength, not his own. David took off the armor and picked up his shepherd's staff, a leather pouch and a simple sling. He had used these tools countless times to protect his sheep. Now, he would use them to protect his people and honor his God. David walked towards the battlefield, his heart filled with faith. He knew that the battle belonged to the Lord. Facing the giant, faith in action. Goliath laughed when he saw David approaching. "Am I a dog?" he roared, "that you come to me with sticks?" He cursed David by his gods and threatened to feed his body to the birds. David stood firm. He knew that Goliath might have size and strength, but David had something far greater. He had faith in the God of Israel. "You come to me with a sword, with a spear, and with a javelin," David shouted back. "But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." With a swift motion, David reached into his pouch, grabbed a smooth stone, and loaded it into his sling. He swung the sling above his head, his eyes fixed on the giant. Victory, the fall of Goliath, the triumph of faith. The stone flew from David's sling with incredible force and accuracy. It struck Goliath in the forehead with a sickening thud. The giant, stunned and disoriented, crashed to the ground. David had done the impossible. He had defeated the mighty Goliath with nothing but a sling and a stone. But more importantly, he had defeated him with his unwavering faith in God. The Philistines, witnessing their champion's fall, panicked and fled. The Israelites, emboldened by David's courage, pursued them and won a great victory that day. David's victory echoed throughout the valley, a testament to the power of faith over fear. David's legacy, courage for our battles. David's story is a timeless reminder that with God, all things are possible. When we face giants in our own lives, fear, doubt, adversity, we can find courage in David's example. We may not face literal giants, but we all encounter challenges that seem insurmountable. These challenges might be illness, job loss, difficult relationships, or the fear of the unknown. Just as David trusted God to deliver him from the lion and the bear, we too can trust God to see us through our own trials. David's victory reminds us that God doesn't always choose the strongest or the most experienced to accomplish his purposes. He often chooses the ordinary and empowers them with extraordinary strength and courage. Your giant facing fears, finding faith. What giants are you facing today? Are you facing a giant of fear, a giant of doubt, or a giant of insecurity? Remember David's story. Remember his courage, his faith, and his unwavering trust in God. Like David, we need to remember that our battles belong to the Lord. We need to face our giants with the same courage and faith that David displayed. We may feel small, but our God is big. We may feel weak, but our God is strong. Step out in faith, even when you are afraid. Trust that God will fight for you, just as he fought for David. When we face our giants with faith, we can be confident that victory will be ours, not because of our own strength, but because of the power of God working through us. Remember, even the smallest shepherd boy, armed with faith, can topple the mightiest giant.